Hello everyone, and thank you for attending today's webinar, Huawei CloudCampus, an innovative new approach to Wi-Fi for retail, education, IoT, smart cities and more, sponsored by Huawei. Before we begin, I wanted to cover a few housekeeping items. On the right-hand side of your screen is the Q&A. If you have any questions during the webcast, you can type your question into the Q&A box and submit your questions to our speakers. All questions will be saved, so if we don't get to answer you today, we may follow up via email. At the bottom of your audience console are multiple application widgets you can use. If you have any technical difficulties, please click on the yellow Help widget. Here you can find answers to common questions. Also, a copy of today's slide deck is available for download in the green Resource List widget. Towards the end of today's presentation, we'll ask your feedback. A survey will pop open on your screen and will only take 1 minute to complete. Your feedback is extremely helpful. Finally, an on-demand version of the webcast will be available about 1 day after the event and can be accessed using the same audience link that was sent to you earlier today. I would now like to turn the event over to Heavy Reading's contributing analyst, Tim Criddle. Tim?
Thanks, Hannah. Well, good day, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. I'm Tim Criddle, Heavy Reading contributing analyst and moderator. Today, we're discussing Huawei's innovative CloudCampus solution, which enables fast, reliable, seamless Wi-Fi while making the entire network easier to manage. The presentation focuses on the benefits that CloudCampus provides in certain verticals, including supermarkets and other retail applications, hotels, primary and secondary schools, and high-density venues such as arenas and stadiums. For example, in retail, seamless Wi-Fi is critical for updating digital signage and electronic shelf labels throughout each store, as well as for Internet of Things applications such as tracking inventory. Some of you might remember a few years ago, JCPenney replaced its checkout registers with handheld point-of-sale terminals that associates would carry around the stores, and that way shoppers wouldn't have to stand in line. But that initiative failed partly because its stores' wireless LANs didn't have enough coverage and capacity. So that's just one example of how Wi-Fi is now as important and fundamental as electricity for retailers and other businesses. It directly affects everything from customer experience to employee productivity to revenue and profits. The presentation includes a couple of videos, and we'll conclude with a Q&A to cover as many of your questions as possible. So now I'd like to introduce today's presenters, starting with Young, who has a decade of experience in enterprise networking, including campus networks, data center networks, and WANs, as well as the Internet of Things. He's joined by AJ, a member of Huawei's Global Enterprise IP marketing team with over 20 years experience in networking and IT. I'll hand it over to AJ in a minute, but first we're going to watch a short video about how Wi-Fi is changing education in Paraguay.
La tecnología es fundamental en la educación. Por ello, el Ministerio de Educación y Ciencias instalará una estructura que dará conectividad a la enseñanza en 962 colegios de nuestro país, con un alcance de alrededor de 550.000 alumnos y 30.000 docentes. REVA es una biblioteca virtual con más de 23 millones de libros científicos que el gobierno ha puesto para que cada paraguayo pueda acceder con un clic. Esto se enmarca en el programa de mejoramiento de las condiciones de aprendizaje mediante la incorporación de las TIC en establecimientos educativos y unidades de gestión educativa en el Paraguay. Se instalarán equipos de alta gama, Wi-Fi de alta densidad. Los alumnos tendrán acceso a los libros y programas de estudio de manera online y offline, gracias a los servidores de contenido. También contarán con una asistencia técnica durante 3 años. Celex, una empresa líder con profesionales jóvenes y tecnología de punta, está instalando soluciones de última generación, comparables con cualquier país del mundo. Este programa se funda en el Plan Nacional de Educación 2024 y en la Agenda Educativa 2013-2018, que garantizan el acceso a la educación y el mejoramiento de la calidad, la eficiencia y la equidad de la misma, incorporando las tecnologías de la información y comunicación TIC en el sistema educativo nacional. Se mejorará visiblemente el aprendizaje de los estudiantes de instituciones públicas. El programa es parte de un sistema que asegura la calidad y la equidad de la educación del MEC en el marco de una estrategia integral, coherente y sostenida. La incorporación de las TIC en el sistema educativo tiende a formar docentes en competencias tecnológicas. Habrá un centro de datos con alta capacidad de almacenamiento para responder a la necesidad de investigar e innovar. La estrategia de asistencia técnica involucra a actores locales, departamentales y a un equipo técnico coordinador central del MEC. Este programa fortalecerá el capital humano, capacitará a educadores en las TIC para optimizar procesos pedagógicos y de gestión administrativa. Asimismo, producirá materiales digitales multimedia que aportarán a los sistemas curriculares y estarán a disposición en un portal accesible. Esto permitirá finalmente crear conocimiento. Las TIC facilitan la investigación y el reencauzamiento de las acciones estratégicas. Con este programa, el Ministerio de Educación y Ciencias proyecta al sistema educativo de nuestro país hacia el mundo de la competitividad y la excelencia, hacia ese país mejor al que todos estamos decididos a llegar.
Great. So hope everybody enjoyed the video. Welcome everybody. This is in continuation of our webinar series that we have been doing since October of last year. Last month we did a webinar on the innovative products coming out of Huawei. It's available as a voice on demand. As Tim said, the agenda for this webinar is really to discuss the different deployment scenarios in different vertical industries. What our customers have been asking us, what they have been telling, what the requirements are, and how Huawei has taken those vertical industry requirements and put them into some of this solution horizontally in different products and different solutions from Huawei. We are very glad that one of our solution experts, Young, can join us. As Tim said, Young brings decades of experience working on the customer situations, and it's going to be interesting to hear from Young how Huawei solves those issues. So before we get into the deployment thing, I just wanted to do a recap on some of the things we did last year. This is a webinar we did on the October of last year. Just so that everybody's on the same page, the overall umbrella term for the Huawei campus solution is called CloudCampus. And under the CloudCampus banner, we have two solutions. Basically, we have a cloud managed campus solutions, and we have a on-premise what we call agile campus. So that the first webinar we did was on the cloud managed campus solution. And as some of you who might have attended that webinar, as you know, the cloud managed campus solution provides you the centralized management, visibility, and control without the cost and complexity of the controller appliances or any overlay management software. I mean, in a way, I mean, it introduces you a new way to deploy, operate, and let's say manage different distributed enterprise networks, kind of delivering the enterprise class network capabilities via a cloud infrastructure. As you can imagine, from a cloud point of view, the cloud managed campus solution automates your complex tasks, making them really very simple, and really kind of takes the CapEx thing out of the picture and really focuses a little bit more on the OpEx sides. For a Huawei solution, there are three characteristics or three attributes that we did talk about: being faster deployment, simplified administration, richer application. And the three benefits, as you can see on the right-hand side of the screen here, really bringing the intelligent operation and maintenance, which means fault tracing, which means visibility, proactive analytics, really predicting some of the faults that might be happening in the future. The second benefit it gives you from a full life cycle cloud management, as I said, the emphasis is on reducing the OpEx. And the third thing is really, which we find is a unique benefit coming out of Huawei, is really bringing this convergence of IoT and Wi-Fi. And you're going to see in some of the products and solutions, we're going to talk about how Huawei does it and what are the unique benefits out of it. And it's not only the enterprise that benefits from the cloud managed campus solutions, it's also the MSPs that using the Huawei's cloud managed solution that benefits tremendously as well, because we believe we provide the first cell phone cloud platform. That means MSPs can operate the Huawei cloud management platform completely by themselves. All the revenues go directly to them. The scale out capabilities, we can handle devices into millions. The hybrid management stack, basically, if you're not ready for the cloud, you don't have to move to the cloud yet, but there's no additional boxes needed in the future. It's just a software switch that you can turn on to get to the cloud. So that was our cloud platform. Let's go to the Agile Campus here. So in terms of the Agile Campus that we, I think, did it in November, it basically gives you an on-premise deployment suited for the large to medium-sized campuses. It brings some unique benefits, whether in terms of bringing your convergence for wired and wireless networks, obviously simplifying your management. The whole idea really is giving the solutions on-premise for our large to mid-sized enterprises, whether they're looking for features like convergence, looking for a policy deployment, a consistent policy, irrespective of what place, what location you come from. So the basic nuts and bolts of our Agile Campus, as we stated in the webinar, are the Agile Controller, which is kind of brain of the whole whole deployment. Then we have different Agile switches, both from a modular and from a box perspective. The Agile switches are based on something which is what we call a ENP, Ethernet Network Processor. That is, again, a Huawei's innovation chip, completely programmable chip, both on the control plane and the data plane. And the last thing that Agile Campus brings to the table is what we call all scenario Wi-Fi, basically taking care of some of the situations, for example, in the highly dense deployments that have some unique challenges and needs and requirements in the Wi-Fi products. And on top of it, everything is basically fundamentally based on our security infrastructure. Security is pervasive, means security is not an afterthought. It's designed from the ground up itself. So hopefully it gives you some flavor of our Agile as well as our cloud managed campus here. So as Tim stated, we're going to really talk about some of the industry-specific solutions that help you to transform your business and stay competitive in this kind of ever-changing landscape here. So there are 8 scenarios that Huawei is focusing in 2018 in this year. As you can see on the top, from a cloud managed campus perspective, we are focused on supermarkets, hotel chains, retail chains, hotel chains, and primary education K through 12. From an agile campus perspective, we are targeting the higher ed, the university. We are targeting the government, the enterprise offices, and ISPs. So think of the scenarios which have multiple branches. That's where cloud managed campus makes perfect sense. And think of the scenarios which are kind of a little bit needs higher scale, a little bit more complicated from a policy point of view, and that's where our agile campus makes a perfect solution for them. Industry focus really enables us to deliver these innovative solutions tailored to each client. I think as Tim really very rightly pointed out, for example, in retail, a retail manager may have to update the pricing of, say, 100,000 items a day. You cannot just do it on a paper label. So we're going to talk about some of our ESL solutions a little bit later on. Or in hospitality, in the hotel situation, you have to offer the differentiated services, the services that differentiate your brand and create a personalized experience for each guest. So there are very specific challenges and requirements for each scenarios, and that's what we have done. In this particular slide, you can see here, some of the solutions can be actually served both by Agile Campus and Cloud Campus. Some of the solutions are served by our Agile Campus. So without any further ado, let's get right into our deployment scenarios. So the very first one is the retail. So if you look in the retail is one of the industry's fastest changing markets actually. Retail has actually been identified as the 3rd most likely industry to be disruptive. The problem in the retail, when you look at it, almost 1/3 of the retailers are kind of struggling to implement a strategy that gives a single view of the customer. There are multiple channels that the customers come from. The challenge is, how do you really move from what we call omni-channels to this unified commerce? For retail, the cloud is really becoming the data management solution of choice because of the distributed store environments. So when you come to supermarkets, when you come to retail, they're really looking for, how do you engage your shoppers through analytics? How do you empower your associates in the retail chains to be the customer friendly? How do you reduce, obviously, the cost, the O&M actually, as we call it? In a shopping mall, the challenges may be in store navigation. How do you really help our customers move from store to store? How do you present them in a very specific coupons that will draw those customers to the store? Basically, how do you do what is a targeted marketing? So let's delve into it, and I'm going to kind of pose these questions to Young. So Young, how does Huawei solve those problems?
Thank you, AJ. So my name is Yang. I'm the system engineer and the senior product manager of Huawei Technology. So I'm glad to using these experiences to share actually the project experiences in different scenarios. I think the thing is that for the retail right now, what we're not only calling the retail, we call it the new retail. The first thing is when we call it new retail, and it must be combined online and offline. Basically, what we need in a retail store or a supermarket, firstly, we need a general Wi-Fi access. Secondly, we need the store and the branch to be smart. So for the general Wi-Fi coverage, I think you need the best Wi-Fi network to provide either it's barcode scanning or online inventory, all that kind of scenario, or you need to provide the Wi-Fi for the general office access, as well as provided the free Wi-Fi to your guest. So basically, this is a 3 general scenario for the general Wi-Fi coverage. And then you need the store to be smart, because right now the store not really competing with another store. Basically, it's competing with all the other sources which the customer can procure online on another website, on the Amazon, so different places. That is why the store has to be smart. The store to be smart, one typical example is for the basically it's for the electronic labeling. So when you're talking about the electronic labeling, is they are saving a lot of the human cost, especially in the developed countries. We have a simple calculation after communicating with the customer. So changing the labels or checking the prices for each of the product or inventory, it is going to cost about $10 per SKU per day. So that is a huge amount of money. And the Huawei solution to solve this one is we design a very unique access points. And the access points has 3 flexible expansion slots. We call it the IoT slot, which is a standard PCIe slot. And then it's supporting different type of the IoT modules. Can be the RFID modules, can be the Bluetooth modules, the Zigbee modules, or the other IoT modules, and we're going to release. So basically, this is a smart IoT Wi-Fi platform. At the same time, it is going to be managed by the cloud. When I say managed by the cloud, all the access points, all the switches is going to be plug and play into each of the store. A lot of the customer ask me whether I choose a public cloud or I choose my private cloud. I say it depends on your size. When your size is big, so you are going to choose a private cloud because it has all your commercial or confidential information there, and because the cloud can see all the traffic coming from the different store. If it's like leaked to the public or leaked to a competitor, which is you don't want to. So for the big customer, I really encourage them to build a private cloud for this type of solution. And other than that, for the smaller customer, you can choose either public cloud or your trusted partner provided public cloud. Okay, so here is a brief comparative analysis of this particular access points. So this access point we call the AP4050DN-E. This is our specialized IoT access points, very specialized for the retail market because it has 3 IoT expansion slots. So the Bluetooth, like if you're using the Bluetooth IoT module, it works for the indoor accurate navigation. If you're using the RF, if it works for the RF slot, it is going to work for your RFID electronic labeling. If you're using the Zigbee, definitely it can control a lot of the smart devices in store. So this is a big imagination for the industry, and also this is one of the very unique design we have in the industry, which has 3 very unique IoT slots. The follow-up are some of the examples we're doing globally, especially in the West European. For the first one is for the Unieuro and the Chasang. They choose us because firstly we provide different access points or different WLAN solution for different type of their coverage scenario. They are relatively big. So they need different kind of specialized access points design for different scenarios. Secondly, they like us cloud management. Basically, for each of the store right now, they can open within a day for all the networking because all the networking stuff is plug and play. All the configuration is going to be done on the cloud, and on the cloud it is template based, so it's super easy. And another one is they looking for the future IoT expansion because they are the shopping malls and supermarkets. So they want the electronic labeling and as well as indoor navigation, all that kind of smart features in the future for this kind of bigger shopping malls. And the second one is Universal. So Universal uniquely look for us is because we can do the IoT and Wi-Fi co-site. If you look at industry solution right now, basically industry has a lot of IoT solution. Industry also have a lot of the Wi-Fi solution. But usually there are two independent separate systems, which cost a lot of the energy to implement the solution in the store, different systems, how to coordinate on the project. But with this solution, basically you have the Wi-Fi and IoT at one site, which greatly simplify the deployment and along with our cloud management stuff. And the last one is want to emphasize is for this CloudCampus solution, it is perfectly work for multiple branch scenarios. When you are working for the retail, don't worry about it. It's small retail shops or small supermarket or even it's a gas station. The more branch you have in this type of scenario, the more you're saving, because for all the branches, you are going to save a lot of the IoT management engineer as well as the energy to manage all the stuff. So greatly reduce your OpEx for the cloud management. So some of the examples globally in China, in Europe, in the United States, so different type of examples. So the next part is actually it's a detailed example of the Uni-Euro. So they have over, it is not a big one, but they have over 120 retail stores, and they deploy our CloudCampus solution. Not only our access points is going to be managed by the cloud. Basically, all the campus networking, including the router and the switch, and everything is going to be managed by the cloud. So when they go into the store, they don't have to send an IT engineer, a very highly skilled IT engineer to the store. They just need some laborers to handing the access points to the right place. That's all they need to and connect it to the cable. And then their specialized engineers is going to be in the headquarters and manage them from the cloud. And they can pull all the centralized reports from the online cloud system. So to more detail about the solution, actually we can discuss a lot more, but definitely want to say that we pay a lot of attention to retail market and to see how to help our customer to reduce the OpEx as well as provide extra values when they're competing with online or the online markets like the Amazon, Best Buy, and different stuff. Okay, this is our solution for the retail. AJ, how about it?
Oh, it sounds great, Young. Looks like Huawei has got a pretty good customized solution and some of the deployments in Europe and North America. Very good to know. So happy to, we can take any questions on retail later on, but let's move on to the next vertical, which is our hospitality. As we heard from our customers, in hospitality, it's in hotel chains, it's all about guest loyalty. It's all about how do you deliver the customized services actually. Different hotel guests may have different needs. For example, somebody is looking for a banquet hall for a family wedding, or somebody is looking for a business meeting. So the question here is, how do you offer a quality Wi-Fi for our customers? How do you enhance the guest experience? How do you provide that customized, personalized experience for the guests of the hotel? And not only that, from a hotel point of view, the hotels want to capture this real-time analytics actually. So these are some of the requirements we have been hearing from our customers. Obviously, from a Wi-Fi, we want to make sure there is no coverage hole within the rooms in the hotel. And needless to say, everybody is looking from an operations point of view. How can I reduce my OpEx as I expand in the hotels. So, Young, it's a good question. How'd you solve that problem from a Huawei point of view?
Yeah, I think that's another chance for me to share in the experiences. Actually, when I'm working at the role like this, I'm traveling about 60% of my time when I'm working. So I call it a Wi-Fi. A hotel without Wi-Fi is not going to be a hotel. I do not believe it's a hotel. So if when I go there, there's no Wi-Fi, there's no work to do, and it cannot connect, I'm going to be frustrated. So for all the business traveler, even including the family travelers, same. Wi-Fi is a mandatory requirement for the hotel right now. Good Wi-Fi is mandatory required by the customer. If you provide bad services like in a restaurant, probably you're going to get a few claims. But if your Wi-Fi is constantly connected and disconnected, definitely your customer is going to complain all the time. So here are our solutions. Here are our solutions. Our solution is very simple. If you want a good Wi-Fi coverage, right, you need the Wi-Fi coverage into each of the rooms. So in the industry, there are two types of solutions. One is putting the access points in the hallway, which is not a good solution because the signal actually in the room is going to be very bad. And when you're streaming the high definition videos, it's going to be interrupted. And then another solution in the industry is to putting the access point into each of the rooms. Think about it. If one Wi-Fi put in the hallway can cover about 4 to 8 rooms. If you put them indoor, it is going to be becoming 4 to 8 access points. And then your network scale is going to be, super large. So we come out, the solution is like something in between. So we call it distributed Wi-Fi architecture. So the overall, this architecture including two parts. One part is what we call the central AP, which looks like a switch, but definitely it's a central AP. And on the other side, it's a RU. So the RU is not a real access point. All you manage is the central AP. The architecture is like the one showing on the right side of the two pictures. So the RU goes into each of the room. Firstly, the RU is a radio unit. It is not an antenna. It is not an extension of something. It is a completely radio unit. Goes into each of the room. And then you have the central AP on the IDF. Each of the central AP can connect it to 24 RU directly or connected to 48 RU through a switch expansion. So basically, you cover one floor just with one central AP, and it was like up to 48 RUs into 48 of the rooms. That's a great advantage. Why I say it's a great advantage? Think about the hotels like we have in the U.S., right? Generally 4 to 5 floors, and I can turn that hotel into 5 to 4 access points. That's all you need to manage. As I emphasized before, Wi-Fi right now is mandatory to all the hotels, but there's a challenge for the hotel owners is that how can I implement that? I cannot send in the IT engineer into each of the hotel. That is a great OPEX for me, as well as a big loss for a big waste for the human resource. So two things. Firstly, we reduce the management point for each of the hotel, and secondly, it is going to be managed by the cloud. That means you don't need to send the IT engineer to each of the hotel. They can sit somewhere in your corporate to manage all the hotel chains, and then they're all reporting to a centralized platform. So that is a great benefit. That's why I say it's reduced 90% of the fewer management nodes, as well as with the cloud management stuff. No matter you are opening the new hotel or operates the hotel, that will be much less OPEX. Another specialized design is on the RU. So the RU has another extra 4 ports. One of the ports can do the PoE out. What is the PoE out function means? In each of the hotel, you always see that, right? The hotel has phone. some of the IP phones, some of the like analog phones. Analog phones usually installed in the restroom, and the IP phone installed in somewhere in the room. So this one is this RU already equipped with one analog port, which can connect it to one analog phone, as well as one PoE out port, which can power up your PoE, which can power up your IP phone directly. So basically, you don't need to change any of your current hotel cabling structure. When you connected your current cabling to the RU on one side, connected to the central AP on another side, then in each of the room, it gives you out 4 extra wire ports as well as 1 analog phone port to connect all your smart devices as well as IP phone and an analog phone in each of the rooms. And also, you don't need to, especially for the IP phone, you don't need the local power supply anymore. It can power up directly through your RU. Okay, here's the example. Not only providing you like to simplify the management and reduce the OPEX, definitely we increase the performances. And attached is a Tally report. So you can search directly on Tally, or you can send an email to us. We can email you the report. We do the comparison test between our architecture for the same coverage, for the same hotel or dormitory coverage scenarios, as well as the hallway coverage or the indoor panel AP coverage, which is a mainstream solution in the industry for the hotel right now. Is our single user throughput or the multiple user throughput will be much higher than the other competitors. And regarding the coverages, definitely it's increased the coverage a lot, and also the average bandwidth is also much higher than the industry solution you have right now. So we call it 6-fold bandwidth increase. So we're not providing you the easy management, but definitely increase much performances in this particular scenarios through our agile distributed Wi-Fi solution. Yeah, here are some of the examples, right? Examples, we call it 2 types of the examples. So one is high density of the guest room. That means it's just a general hotel guest room coverage, nothing special. But with agile distributed solution, it do increase your coverage at the same time, increase your performance and ease of your management. Just remember what I say is I can turn your 6-floor hotel into just the 6 access points, which nobody can do that in the industry. And another one is for the high density access scenario, which is for the indoor conference room or the hall or the conference center. So that one we have flagship access points to cover specifically in that scenario. So for the hotel chains, we still provide a very complete offering for different type of the scenarios, as well as the cloud management capabilities. So this is going to be our solution for the hotel chains. A very specialized scenario I want to emphasize, I forget to introduce, is for the cruise line. When you're talking about the cruise line, they're all metal. So you're not going to put anything in the hallway to coverage the cabin. It is going to be very hard. We already communicate with different type of the different cruise lines in the US, in the UK, and also in China. They all have that challenge, and customer requesting the Wi-Fi coverage into the cabin. And they have and also right now the satellite links can reach about 300 meg to 400 meg per ship. So the bandwidth is not the outgoing internet bandwidth is not going to be an issue for the cruise line right now. And then the customer is asking for the Wi-Fi access. And then after discussing the solution with them, definitely I think agile distributed solution is one of the perfect fit in the industry for this very particular scenarios. Nobody can compete us on the performances and as well as the management, ease of management on this type of scenarios. Okay, this is our offering for the hotel scenarios, and it's really specialized, AJ.
All right. So let's go to the next scenario. Actually, I just remembered also one thing, Young, the Agile Distributed Solution was one of the finalists in the Introp in the US. So it has actually got pretty good accolades from the folks here in the US too. So let's get on to the next scenario, which is education here. No questions about it. Education is changing. Students are no longer sort of confined to the traditional learning environment, whether you're talking distance learning or e-learning or e-classrooms. There is a wide popularity of what is called as MOOC, massively open online courses. So the requirements that are really coming from the education side is the network needs to be enable students to learn from anywhere, any place. Obviously, that goes without saying. There is a need to support sort of the innovation, the faculty research. How do you really put everything in the cloud? How do you build an intelligent campus? There may be need to, how do you merge given and some of the recent events that have happened, how do you merge the physical security and network security together into the same place there? So really, how do you bring the agile services? How do you do on-demand resource distribution? And how are you ready for the future oriented architecture? OpEx and CapEx goes without saying in the education as well. Really, the idea here is to help to have an infrastructure which is behind the scenes and helping the students, faculties from a learning point of view. So, Young, that's it. Those are the unique challenges we've been seeing in the education. How do you do that?
Yeah, I think definitely this is one of the most challenging scenarios, right? And the education industry has been changing a lot since after I'm graduate. So when I'm in the school, it is still everything on the PowerPoint. But right now, if you go to a classroom, even in the K-12 in the United States or in the European, it's very simple. Is that you see, in the U.S. we call there are basically three types of the classrooms. Okay, so it's Android classroom, or it's an Apple classroom, or it is a Windows classroom, or it's a mixed classroom. So basically, all the students coming into the school right now with a pad, especially for the K-12. And the teachers are pushing different contents and tests and onto their pads and the high definition videos, and to show the students. Then they don't have to look at just one direction. They can all focus on their how to develop their own capabilities. That brings a unique challenges to the classroom. Firstly is there's increase of the connection. That means each of the students, we calculate in average, at least is going to be about 2.5 connections per student in one classroom. So huge increase than before. And secondly, they require much higher bandwidth, because right now with AR technology, with high definition video technologies, and they're pushing all this kind of high bandwidth consumption apps into each of the students' pad at the same time. So require a much higher performance to the access points than before. Yet solving the problem, you can always say, I implement the new standards. I'm using the 11AX, which is the next generation. It's going to release this year, the Q2 this year, probably commercial shipment. But I would like to say, solving the problem to Huawei, we have another way to do it. Firstly is we build a triple radio access point, which has 50% more higher concurrent user capability, and each of the user have a higher bandwidth. And secondly, we have the interference suppression technology, which is one of the very basic knowledge we're getting from our LTE wireless technologies. So we can completely isolate the three radios, make sure within one access point they don't interference with each other. This is also very important. In our previous prototypes about 2 years ago, they always have experiences. That's a unique challenge when you're building a triple radio access point. I'm really glad we're solving that problem. And the third is that it is a 4x4 MIMO. That is the highest in the industry for the 11 Wave 2 technology, so which has higher capacity for the overall access points. This is one of our very unique solution. And another one is with this technologies, if using the other vendor, right, basically you are deploying the access points into each of the classrooms. But with a high concurrent user, actually in the typical scenarios, you can deploy one access point every other classroom. That means you're saving half of your engineering work, cabling work, as well as the deployment, as well as the ongoing OPEX, and also your one-time CapEx. So that's a lot of benefits we bring for this particular access points. Here is a brief comparison between our own different type of the access points. Basically, you can see the triple radio one can handle the concurrent user is 240, which is the highest in the series. That's why it's a specialized design for the education classroom and to saving your both CapEx and OPEX. Yeah, this is a detailed comparison between us and other vendors. Basically, right now, there's no competitor in the industry. It's a 4x4 MIMO 11 Wave 2, and the total throughput for single access points is 3 gig. And it has triple radio, 2 5 gig radio, and 1 2.4 gig radio. One of the very unique species in the series. Yeah, so here are some of the examples. So for different countries in Turkey, in China, in the West European, so different type of it. So two things. Firstly, it's high density user access into each of the classroom. Secondly, it's completely 100% cloud-based management. This is what we have in the opening video. It's our power grid use cases, and they are using our triple radio access points to deploy every other classroom to saving the CapEx and the OPEX at the same time to reach the performance requirement for each of the students as well as a concurrent user requirement. So this is our solution for our education scenarios or high-density user access scenarios. AJ, are you okay with that? I think that's our very unique also in the industry.
No, sounds great, Young. I think seeing some of these case studies and references really gives a lot more confidence how Huawei solved some of those education deployments. Let's kind of move on to the next one, and I think Young you alluded to some of the high-density scenarios. In scenarios with densely distributed rooms such as dormitories, you mentioned hotel rooms, hospitals, conference rooms, auditoriums, stadiums, etc. There are some unique problems. As you said, they're plagued by the poor indoor signals, insufficient coverage. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that Verizon ad which says, "Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?" And you can see the guy moving. So obviously, these are very specific situations that really kind of requires a unique product to make sure no coverage, interference being minimized. How do you do load balancing? How do you improve the quality of the Wi-Fi we talked about? How do you make sure you talked about agile distributed, being able to deploy fewer devices, reducing the CapEx and the OPEX, both from an indoor as well as from an outdoor point of view. So the question here is, how do you take care of these unique situations, Young, in terms of both indoor and outdoor, highly densely populated? Does Huawei have any sort of products and solution that you can kind of let us know?
Yeah, definitely, right? With our huge R&D investment, definitely we have different type of solutions. So the first one is the general indoor high-density coverage scenarios. You think about it when you're walking in the when you're walking in the offices, your signal is going with you no matter you go closer or further and the signal is always with you with a good signal and only with you. So this is access points. We introduced AP7052DE, which is what we call the searchlight. So which can particularly focus on individual individual users, and strengthen the signal into that unique direction, into that unique devices. This is based on how we have a smart antenna array in this access point. So it can constantly changing the signal direction, and when they're sensing your devices into different type of directions. So this one is one of the leading technologies in the industry with a smart antenna array. And secondly is when the high density scenario in the indoor, you definitely need a higher bandwidth on the uplink side, because the capacity is always an issue. Along with it, we introduced our new multi-gig switch, which can connect it to the access points with one cable, and reach up to 2.5 gig or 5 gig speed. So this is a very simple way to increase the wire side capacity. And if you think about it, other than that, you are going to give 2 cabling jobs to there, which is super expensive in most of the countries, and the human resources is too expensive. And another one is we have the 200-meter, with our access points working with our switch, we can do 200-meter PoE. That means it is just breaks the limit of the 100 meter in the traditional industry. So can do 200 meters. That means your IDF can be much more far away from your access points, which can save you a lot of cost when you're doing your build out with IDFs. That means less IDF and longer cabling, and then your OPEX also is going to drop because you have fewer IDF need to manage, because IDF still needs the air conditioning, so different stuff. This is our Searchlight product. And another one is very specialized for the industry, for the outdoor scenarios. We call it Spotlight. The differences between this and the industry is that usually industry, when they're covering the stadiums, we call it a very typical outdoor high-density scenarios when they cover the stadium or the trade show room or the conference center. They using the solution is usually it's using one outdoor access point attached with one directional antenna. So that is just doubling the engineering works, and also regardless of the RF cables, you need to connect it between the access points and the outdoor antennas. That is, you will see a lot of the typical deployment when you have the trade shows around the world. That's the best cases in the industry right now before we release our Spotlight product. Our Spotlight product is the outdoor access points, completely outdoor, so anti-water, anti-dust, everything is IP67. And then it has a built-in directional and small angle directional antenna. This is industry's first. So it has firstly a triple radio and then small built-in directional antenna. So it will make your outdoor scenario, the stadiums, really nice and clean. All you need to do is just handing this access point up into the stadium and then point it to the right direction. That's all you need to do. Forget about what kind of antenna I need to choose, what kind of RF cable, how long it should be, how can I hide the antenna. A lot of things you can just ease of mind. This is the best solution for the outdoor high density scenarios. Yeah. Another one, talking about outdoor, we have to talk about it, the extended temperature range. It definitely has different temperature. The outdoor scenario have a very harsh environment. Sometimes it's too hot, and sometimes it is too cold. So for this one, typically in the industry, customers are using the industrial Ethernet to deploy such kind of scenarios, such as a smart city solution or the safe city scenarios, or the metro Ethernet solution for the ISP. But we are building a new species, and between this is a new switch just with extended temperature. So you can easily put into your outdoor cabinet, and which can survive a much wider temperature range from -40 degrees to positive 75 degrees Celsius. And also supporting all the long distance PoE, so you can power up your camera from a long distance, and all your Wi-Fi access points for the smart city for long distance. This is also one of the new products we released today. Yeah, here's a brief competitive analysis and compare with the industry solutions. So the basically for the first one, for the indoor high density scenarios, it has a smart antenna array, can change the signal along with you no matter wherever you go. Or the next one is for our outdoor high density scenarios, specialized for the stadiums and conference centers, to replacing your traditional outdoor access points, plus another directional antenna scenario. Basically, it's an all-in-one design with triple radio, and also along with the built-in small angle antenna. This is also very unique in the industry, especially for the stadium scenarios, stadium high density scenarios. So AJ, this is our solution for all kind of the high density scenarios, which really have a very tough, which is having a very challenging requirement for the access ones. But we did. We're really glad we did that.
Absolutely, and I think it's really good to see those specific solution scenario deployments requirements being met by some of these brand new innovative products from AP point of view, from a switching point of view. It's really good to know that. So I'm just going to quickly, kind of given the time here, I'm just going to say one line here. This is a brand new cloud app platform. It's an application that you can download from the Apple Play Store. Actually, it's a mobile environment. Really kind of takes care of the whole life cycle of your network from start to finish. We will you can download this application today and play with it. We were going to show you the video now, but given the lack of time here, we're going to directly go to the Q&A. So Tim, can you just go to the Q&A if within the time, if we can answer a couple of questions?
Sure, and I just put a survey up on the screen. If the audience would mind, take a look at that survey when you get a chance to give us some feedback. But we'll jump into the questions. The first one is, when will the AP4051TN be in general availability?
Yeah, I think the time frame for this one, I think it's Q2 and in 2018. So basically right now you can contact all your local Huawei reps. They may have better time than I do here in the US, because our go-to-market timeline is a little bit different than the globally, but definitely you contact your local sales reps in each of the countries. They may give you a better better understanding of the time frame, but definitely it's a very mature solution. It's based on the 11AC technologies, so don't worry about it. Just go ahead with the solution.
Very good. And another question is, what is the recommended classroom size to use one AP for 2 classrooms?
Can you repeat the question again? Sorry about it. I think there's some networking issue.
Yeah, what is the recommended class size to use one access point for 2 classrooms? So I guess the question is about either square footage or maybe how many students might be in a classroom.
Yeah, typically it works much better on the K-12 side when you are deploying one AP every other classrooms. So typically a K-12 classroom is about 25 to 40 students, and each of the students, we assuming they have average 2.5 connections. So that is the size we recommend. So okay, for your reference, basically 25 to 40 per each classroom. But when you're talking about the higher A classrooms, definitely they are over 100. You need to deploy at least one AP to each of the classrooms for that kind of scenarios.
Very good. And another attendee wants to know, what's the difference between an RU and a thin access point?
Oh, I think it's a completely, no, I'm not going to say completely different. So the RU has 80% of independent access points. And then, but we're changing the architecture. So basically the RU only handling the radios, not handling any of the user roaming traffic. The roaming traffic all handling on the central AP side. Basically, considering the RU and the sync clients, the sync clients is access points you have to manage independently, consuming your management license, right? So for the RU, it's totally dumbhead. It's a plug and play. It only have the radio management stuff and also has a high performance there, but all the roaming and user management stuff goes to the central AP. So compare the two scenarios. If for a hotel, it has 48 rooms per floor. If you're using the Sync AP solution, if you're using the Sync AP or the panel AP solution in that scenarios, each of the floor, you are going to have 48 management node. But if you're using the Huawei Agile Distributed solution, you only have one access point need to manage on each of the floor. That's the beauty of the solution. Increase the coverage into each room by extending the RU into each of the room, like the Sync AP, but at the same time, greatly simplify your management node and also reduce the management node 90%. Yeah, that's a big difference.
Right. Okay, very good. Well, we've come up at the end of the webinar, so thank you everybody who attended. We really appreciate you sharing your time with us. Thank you also, AJ and Young, for sharing your insights. It's been very informative. And if you haven't had a chance to fill out the survey, please do. We welcome your feedback. And with that, have a great rest of your day.